Let's see if this works. I've got a twitch in my right eye in a minute. No idea why. Right. Let's see if this works. I have accepted your request, but as we have been experiencing recently, for me, for some reason, Instagram doesn't let people try and join my feeds. Well, it's let Dunk in. That's just typical. But I have accepted Dan's invite, and it's not getting him in there for some reason.
Did you invite him, or did he invite himself?
Try again?
Did you invite him, or did he invite himself?
He requested to join. This seems to be the issue. When people request to join, it doesn't like it. But when you ask people to join you, it works. Tiniest shrug in the world.
Yeah, because I never asked to join. I just waited for you to send me the request.
Yeah, Dan, drop out and then jump back in, and we'll try again, mate.
Yeah, don't request. Let Casey beg you to come in. Sam, honestly, you think you've got fucking a creativity of 9? You're fucking hole, you do. You're as creative as my left pinky. Oh, Sam's put up some stupid story where he's gave himself as a 9 for looks, an 8 for creativity, a 7 for humour, 2 for patience, but surely if you've got high patience, you should have high creativity.
No.
Oh, go fuck yourself, Penge.
No, you know what? I'm not very patient, but then I'm also not very creative, actually, with reflection to that. So,
I am creative as your ma in the bedroom. You're my mum in the bedroom. So that's basically, you're trying to speak Scottish, but you're saying as your ma in the bedroom. So you're my mum in the bedroom. You make no sense. You fucking expat pedo bastard. Trump loving.
it's good to have Dunk back, isn't it, everyone? There we go. We got him in.
Oh, it's the jam man.
That's the jab, man.
We've heard
He's
of the
locked
T
in.
man. Now it's the jam man. How you doing, jobber?
I'm all right. I just need to work out how to turn the camera around now.
What you do is turn your wrist. No.
Yeah, I think I might have to. That's very odd.
Have you not got your little button?
Yeah, there we go.
There, you found it. There we are. Right.
You are looking more and more like the guy from the insurance videos each time I see you.
Nonsense. He looks more and more like me.
Dunk, you've got to stop watching them, because I logged onto the Inquisition page the other day and all I was seeing was videos about written off cars and stuff. And actually, you can't even comment because you're rocking the ginger beard as well, boy. So
Yeah, but I'm not
you're having a beard off.
I am not fucking from the north fucking east. They two are. They're the same person.
Close enough. Close enough, mate.
You're closer than me. Right. So, good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Inquisition. Tonight we are joined by Dan from Worhammer Podcast, which is WOR, because as we've mentioned, he's from the Northeast. War is slang up there for like war lad, your lad, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's a really good play on words. I love it. Dan, since we've last had you on, how are you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I've started going to the gym. I've dropped a dress size. I'm down from a 20 to an 18, so I'm feeling decent. There's still a lot bit to love, but I'm getting there. Sorry, what was that, Dunk?
How's the divorce going? When do you have access to the Discord page? Is it every other weekend?
That divorce. Yeah, no, that's okay. Yeah, I mean, it was a big change. I'm not sure still that I like being a solo content creator. There's a lot of comfort in having somebody else alongside you. I mean, there was meant to be a video go out today at 6 o'clock. I left it editing to the last minute, and then spent 3 hours like crying at the screen because it wouldn't upload properly. So it's going out later on now. So yeah, it's what do they say? A journey.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Big change.
I did all right out of the divorce. I mean, I got the channel. I can't really complain, can I?
I have to say, I love the new studio, and it was. I watched loads of the videos today, and what I love the most about it is the fact that you've got all your minis behind you, which is great, but you've got no shame in showing. Here's the stuff I've painted up the top, and then down in this corner here's the undercoated stuff, and then over in this corner here's the plastic that is still on sprue. It feels very much like you're quite open and honest about your hobbying in a little way, whereas mine's all shoved in a cupboard to the side, which no one can see.
As it should be. Yeah. No, I mean, I did have a think about that, and that's exactly what I decided to do. I thought, well, I looked at it and thought, oh, I'm going to have to tidy this up, and then I thought, you know what? I will tidy it, but I'm not going to hide it, because we're all hobbyists. Like, one of the reasons this is going to become like one of those like celebrity love-ins, but one of the reasons I love you guys, and you know this because I've told you both about it individually, is the same thing. Is you are not interested in being fake. What you see is what you get, very much, and that's kind of the way I like to do things as well. There's so much fake ass bullshit on Instagram and that, and it's not. I'm too old. I'm too old, and I can't do it now.
For an inspiration.
I mean, I'm supposed to be on holiday, but Casey was missing me that much that he begged me to come back on today.
No, what happened was you were supposed to be on holiday. I said I'm going to run for another couple of episodes. You're like, all right, well, who you got on? I said I got Dan on. He's like, you bastard! I wanted to have him on, so you got jealous and jumped back in.
I'm flattered. I'm glad. I was pleasantly surprised to see you. I've written down about 20 dump jokes, which I'm now not going to use. But other than that, it'll be good.
I think we should still hear some of the dunk joke, because I'm interested to see what a dunk joke is.
No, absolutely not. Not to your face. I'm too much of a coward. So, I'm off on holiday tomorrow as well, actually. So this is the last hobbying I'll do before I nick off.
Yeah, and I do appreciate you giving up your evening pre-holiday. That is big love.
Because Casey was saying, like, I'm going to get Dan on, and I was like, fuck man, I was going to ask him to come on after our break, and he's like, oh, well, I asked him to reschedule. I was like, no, like, if you want me to come back for a one-off show, I'll come back. I mean, I definitely think that, even though I've had like a couple of weeks off, definitely feel a lot better for it. Like, I think we definitely need to take that wee hobby break, because like yourself, like you've been up until the divorce, you've been pretty much just banging out the content since you started up. Like, did you have any sort of break?
We had a couple of weeks off just by accident. But I think that was part of the problem, was we're just burned out a bit, mentally burned out a bit. And after 2 or 3, I think it was about a month off I had or something like that, and then I was like, right, actually I do think I'm ready to have a try at making a video again. And I'm only doing one a week now. Like, we were doing 2 a week. I'm just going to try, and I did 2 last week, but most weeks I'm just going to do 1, and I'm just going to try and enjoy it a bit more, really, I suppose.
I think. Sorry, Casey, I'll just...
No, go on, mate. You're all right.
I forget. Like, I think it would have been foolish of you to kind of just give up totally, because it's such a good channel that you've had, and I think to just chuck it away would have been mental. I mean, I know that your insurance videos are doing well, but like we do need the Necron videos as well. And just for Barnaby Trap, to keep the dust off those bad boys, I just blow the dust every so often, or I get an old paintbrush and just dust them. But that's what I do.
A nice soft old paintbrush is a brilliant way to do it. And then the other thing is sometimes I just don't, like, the Dark Eldar definitely need they've been on the shelf for about 4 months. They definitely need a brush.
See, I used to use, if anyone's got them, I used to use, the air cans that you get from offices to clean out the back of PCs. I used them.
That's genius.
It's just also because I'm lazy. But yeah, just give them a blast with air, bang.
Yeah, some of those Dark Eldar are so flimsy, I think they'd all end up at the back of the shelf.
So, when we've talked about the direction now that Warhammer will be moving in, you've already jumped into it with both feet. One of your last video last week was the what was it? I was going to say Titans. It's not Titans. It's the Chaos Knights.
Chaos Knights, yeah.
And that was really interesting because you've pulled, you guessed in, you've asked them all the questions, and I think it was a really good way of taking it because it feels like a case of, I love Necrons, this is Necrons, but this person knows this, so let's have them chat about it. Will you be doing those sorts of more videos with different factions going forward, do you feel, or will it just be more of a case of, I can sort of badger my way through this next topic, so I'll do it myself?
No, I fully agree with you. I think I really enjoyed that one. It was just luck, really. Somebody lent me a copy of the Chaos Knights Codex early, so I was going to review it, and then I bumped into that guy Ratnu. He goes to my club, and he is literally, like last season, he was the #1 Chaos Knights player in the world according to the ITC rankings. So he knows his stuff, but he's a lovely bloke. So I was like, right, let's give it a try. You're always a bit. You know yourselves, like you can talk to people and get a feeling for them, and then you're like, right, I think this is going to be a good guest, and sometimes they are, and most of the time, you know, your gut feeling's usually right. And with Ratner it was the same sort of thing. So it's just going to be a question of trying to find people like that have got the knowledge base and that I can, you know, that'll come across well. But yeah, it was really interesting for me, and it's also I really actually enjoyed a lot more having somebody. I've missed talking to somebody because I don't mean in general life. Obviously, I do talk to other people, but yeah, it's not the only way I get to a conversation. But yeah, in terms of making videos, I prefer that conversational stuff, the back and forth like this, like what we're doing now, rather than me just talking to a camera going, you know, it feels a little bit artificial just talking to the camera, I suppose, whereas I like to have a good natter on instead.
Yeah, it's something that always gets picked up on. There's the organicness of the actual conversation rather than just staring at a camera and chatting away.
And how did you find that going from, because like we all know that you did just Necrons for 20,000 years. How was that switching up to something that you aren't familiar with, as intimate as you are with your Necrons?
I mean, the Necron stuff's going to continue. Most weeks will still be a Necron video when I can, for the next few months. And that's mainly to help me get a hang of editing, because Jack used to do all that. He was a whiz at all that stuff. So I'm learning by trial and error, but mainly error, how to edit videos. And it's not as easy as it looks, is it? I was like, this can't be that difficult. And then I got into it and I was like, fuck, this is really hard. But hopefully, yeah, once I've got I want to get, the Ratnu one was kind of a one-off, and I was like, the vibe feels right, the timing's right, let's do it and see what happens. But I'm going to put those a little bit on the back burner while I get more to grips with the technology, and also set the studio up a little bit, because the background, as much as I'm not going to change this background, there's other things you can do with like lighting and stuff just to make it look a bit better. So yeah. It's all learning.
Any sort of plans in your mind of how you would like it to look in the background there? You're keeping your stuff on your shelves, but changing a few things here or there, a few little books, pictures?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a couple of spaces for pictures and stuff, and it's mainly a lighting thing. Like might put some LED strips or something like that on there just to make it a little bit more visually interesting. But yeah, the main challenge at the moment is learning how to properly edit, and once I can produce a video to reasonable quality, then you can start worrying about the other stuff. But yeah, I don't want to, as we said at the beginning, I don't want to go too far away from what's behind me now, because that's me.
No, I was more in the aspect of like, what was it like discussing a totally different thing that you aren't familiar with when Necrons, as in with Chaos Knights. How did you find that? Was it refreshing for you, or was it a bit daunting?
A bit of both. That's a really good question, and I think the answer is a bit of both. So I had the codex in advance, so I had to skip through that anyway. But having somebody of Ratanu's experience there to be able to distill it down into like was really interesting. But it was a bit daunting because it's like out of your comfort zone, isn't it? It's something completely different. I mean, that said, my job is, or half my job is, as a journalist, so I should be, in theory, able to ask questions and get the right answers. But it's not always that easy.
Yeah, it's one thing when you do something for a living, but when you do it for fun, it's
100%.
Yeah, your mindset changes, doesn't it? It's not like you can just sort of sit there and think, "This is what I do for work." Quite easily, no.
Yeah.
First thing goes out the window, and instantly you're just like, "Ugh."
Yeah, absolutely. And we had to do it twice because the first time I was just I was stumbling. I think I did have like first date nerves. So we recorded the whole thing, and he was like, and he kind of looked at me and he's like, "You happy with that?" And I went, "No, I'm really not. Would you mind if we did it again?" So a bit like my wedding night.
We appreciate your honesty.
Yeah. But yeah, it was good to pot Cherry, and I think it's the thing with YouTube is it's a bit challenging trying to do something that is YouTube at the moment. The algorithm does not want you to do something different.
Yeah.
So if you have been making videos about Necrons for 2 years, it wants you to make videos about Necrons. And if you make videos about other things, sometimes it just goes, we're going to try and discourage you from doing that again. So it's that aspect of it's interesting. But then also you've got to take a step back from that and say, am I that arsed? Like, am I just in this because I want to make videos that get loads of views? Because if that was the case, I wouldn't be making them about Warhammer, because we're a niche within a niche, you know? So I know it sounds cheesy, but if I'm going to do those kind of videos, you just have to kind of do it because you want to, and then forget about all the bullshit, you know?
Yeah. It's something that I've heard as well, not just with YouTube, but like Instagram as well. When I was chatting to some of the guests we've had on in the last couple of weeks, that when you feed the algorithm the same thing, all it's going to do is pick that one thing, like, this is what you do. It dictates what people see for you rather than you just putting stuff out like you would have 20 years ago when you first ventured onto YouTube and you could upload videos of anything.
Yeah. I was a guy a few months ago, and I won't name and shame him, but and he makes fantastic reels, very funny Warhammer reels. And he started showing his painting, which is also pretty beautiful. But he's like, well, my reels are getting, I don't know, let's say 10,000 views, and I'm getting 10,000 likes, and I'm getting like 100 or 50 likes on my painting reels. But that's why. It's because Instagram's just going, well, that's not what you normally do. I'll only show that to a fraction of the people.
Yeah.
So algorithms are weird, and at the end of the day, none of us, with no disrespect to anybody doing this, but very few of us are going to make a living out of it. You work hard for your living, I work hard for my living. This is what we do for fun. So
I work hard for my living, but I'll take the compliment. So, question in the chat from ADHD Minis there. Obviously, you are known for Necrons, but you also dabble with your Dark Eldar. Any plans for jumping into them?
The BDSM Space Elves, yeah. I mean, I'll definitely, that's a good question. I think possibly. I think they are, at the moment, they are such an unloved faction. About roughly half of the range is out of print. It's still in Finecast, never got plastic. And they're not even on the Codex roadmap for 10th edition yet. So there is perhaps Tez is right, and there's a pent up wave of love for Dark Eldar, which will explode when GW finally gives them some attention. But at the moment, they're not doing very well in the tournament scene. Nobody's playing them, and it's really hard to get a hold of the models.
Yeah,
but yeah, they are they're definitely something on my radar. Yeah.
Cool. And then Graham, aka Aok Painting, if you had control of the law, where would you take it going forward?
Oh no, that's a trap. I'm not.
Graham trap. Oh no.
Yeah. It's a trap. Well, funnily enough, segueing in from Dark Eldar, one of the on my wish list last year and still this year was when we were thinking about what could GW do with Dark Eldar, was a range refresh to bring plastic models out for all those that were missing. And I was thinking about, could they be the starter box for 11th edition? And if they were, who would they be paired with? They've got to be paired with Space Marines, right? Because Space Marines are always in the starter box.
Yeah.
So what happened to Jagatai Khan? How did he disappear? The Primarch of the White Scars. He disappeared off into the webway somewhere fighting Dark Eldar. So Jagatai comes back, White Scars one half of the box, Dark Eldar the other side of the box. So I'd love to see GW do that and then give us some good lore around that as well, around where he's been, what's been going on, and how he's got back.
Not a bad shout. I mean, as soon as you mentioned Dark Eldar, I thought, oh, why not revisit 3rd edition? But Templars get too much love and they're pretty boring, in my opinion. But we're not going into my opinions at the moment. So C. Finch says, not so much a question, but thank you for representing bald men with a beard in the Warhammer category for you, everyone. Bit of love. We always love that bit of love. Thank you very much, Jen.
It was one of the reasons why I nearly didn't do a podcast, because like there's so many podcasts with bald men with beards and glasses. Like we are an archetype in Warhammer, aren't we?
Yeah.
But you know, don't let archetypes stop you from doing something you want to try.
Well, I tell you what, I should wear glasses, but the only reason I don't is because Dunks is bald and got a beard, so I don't want the two of us to merge into one super gestalt being and end
That
up.
would be amazing. Just follow my bolts on.
I actually have glasses somewhere as well, which I should.
Oh no! There you go.
Which I should be using when I'm working. Let me see if I can find them. I'm actually at my workstation just now.
Go on then. While you find them, Graham's further elaborated. He's like, what Primarch would you bring back next? Is more what you meant.
Jagatai Khan, yeah. As I said, I think bring back Jagatai Khan from the White Scars, in the context of him continuing his conflict with the Dark Eldar. So it's for purely selfish reasons, because I want more Dark Eldar. I've been reading a brilliant book at the moment. This is also my most expensive mistake in years in Warhammer, but I was reading a brilliant book at the moment. Someone kindly lent me, a friend called Ben, which is an omnibus of Fabius Bile stories. And he ends up absolutely at loggerheads with the Dark Eldar, and the depiction of them in there is brilliant. But there's not that much. There's a book on Lelith Hesprax, who's the like leader of the kind of witch side of the Dark Eldar. Yep. But there's not loads and loads of them in the Black Library. There's not loads of lore. So bring back Jagatai Khan, bring back Asdrubal Vecht, who was the basically the king of Camorra. Love to see him back. He's probably not coming back on his battle barge with his naked ladies, but
no pimp wagon.
Yeah, no, not for him. No, not in this day and age. But yeah, I do think that would be the direction that I would like to see them go.
I do think you're right. Like if something's going to need a range refresh, picking that as the focus for an entire new box is probably a good way of doing it. You know, it worked for the Ultramarines, didn't it?
Yeah, it does. I mean, Space Marines are always going to be the poster boys. They basically prop up the hobby, don't they? And it's just a question of who they put in to go alongside them, you know. And there's rumours it might not be White Scars, it'll be a different flavour of Space Marines and Orcs or something like that. We just have to wait and see them. But we can dream.
I have seen that in the Discord that's been mentioned, because we do have a lovely Discord community, and it seems to be constantly growing and thriving. How's that going for you?
I do like I like the Discord. I think again it's about you've got to set some little boundaries there, and then as long as people respect those, because there is. The hobby's been dragged in like everything else into the culture war, so you basically have to say, leave that shit out of it. We're not interested. And when you park that at the door, then you find that you've got a lot more in common with each other, and so for that reason, it seems to be quite good. It's interesting that it's not. Initially, I thought it was just going to be like Necron, and there is a lot of Necron stuff in there, but we've got people in there that don't own a single Necron, which is really nice. And that's also been quite helpful for when people are like, all right, I'm getting my ass kicked by, I don't know, Custodes, for example. And then someone will pop up, or two people pop up, like, actually, I play them, and this is how you beat them type thing. So, yeah, I'm enjoying the Discord. It's good. We get regular updates on Lenny the Goose, lives in over in the States, which is he's become like the Discord mascot. Belongs to one of the members. I'm a little bit anxious because he's moving to Florida, so Lenny's going to get packed up and driven for 9 hours in a truck along with his harem. So we'll see how that goes.
Florida's not going to be a good place for a goose. The temperature and all the wildlife. Yes.
Well, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I mean, Lenny's pretty solid. He attacks anything that moves. So, well, I'd love you'll see a video on you
Yeah.
know, Florida goose attacks alligator in about 6 months' time or something like that.
It's more the Burmese pythons that would fucking assassinate them than anything, to be honest.
Burmese pythons, crikey.
Oh yeah, because they just chuck them in the wild out there, don't they? They're just like, I haven't got room for this snake. Let's just throw it into the Everglades and stuff like
They
that.
are absolutely decimating the wildlife in the States, in Florida. Like they
Serious?
are they're an invasive species because people were just getting rid of them. They didn't realise how big they grow, and like there has been reports of like them taking alligators, like young adolescent alligators. So it's
Yeah.
like the Burmese pythons are like, it's not the alligators you need to worry about, it's the fucking python, because there's no natural predator for them, because cunts just flush them down the toilet or just dump them off at Disneyland.
Isn't there a video somewhere or a picture of a python that tried to eat an alligator and burst because
It was too big.
yeah, it swallowed the thing. It got halfway down it and then it just popped. So it's yeah.
That's class.
Sam, if you're
Yeah.
still in the chat, don't be throwing snakes in the Everglades, yeah?
Yeah.
Sam is that small. He's only 5'5". That a fucking Burmese python would eat him. Because there's no way he's 6 foot.
Yeah, we'll die on it. We'll fight and die on that hill. What?
Here's a question for you. Because I think this is a question I meant to ask the last time that you and ex-wife were on. Have you ever done a video on pariahs?
No, not yet. No, we are. We've decided to focus on just doing the videos on the current Necron units. So we didn't even do the ones that went to Legends because we don't play them. So I would
why did they get rid of the pariahs? Because obviously I came to Warhammer well late, and the only experience I have with pariahs is through the Dawn of War games, and
yeah.
you know what I mean. So why did they get rid of them?
I honestly don't know. I mean, they still exist in the lore, as far as I'm aware. They're just not. They're just not in on the tabletops. You don't find them in the codexes. I think part of it was they didn't fit with when they did the last range refresh, which I think was 8th edition. They didn't fit with the kind of aesthetic. They went kind of more Slenderman type of, you know, like basically like Egyptian skeleton robots. So and the pariahs were almost more like, I think they were more in that sort of Terminator 2 aesthetic that they used to have, that Necrons used to have. So I think that might explain it. But there's been, I mean, you know, there's always rumours, isn't there? But I've heard rumours washing about that maybe they're going to be coming back, maybe as like a kill team. So if they ever make a return, then I'd absolutely love to make a video on them. Yeah.
Pariahs were the ones that were like the war sci-fi dudes, weren't they? With like all the white armor, if I'm remembering rightly.
They were. Yeah, and they kind of, yes, is a short answer. Jack's still got a couple of them as metal ones. I don't have anything left from those days, unfortunately. But yeah, they are. I mean, the other thing with Necrons is because we've been the poster boys in starter sets recently. We've got a lot of units, but that was that period from like 5th to 8th edition or 9th even, where, you know, factions got a lot of units to play with. So I don't think we're very high up GW's list in terms of bringing stuff back, because they're like, well, we made a net loss in the last codex. I think we ended up like 4 or 5 units down because they took some characters and stuff off us because they were just like, well, you've got too much.
Right, they took the units off us, but we're getting Trazin back, so that's always.
He needs it, yeah. And I can't wait to see the model. I'm convinced still that we got an a weird one with like an overlord with a shroud, and I'm convinced that was meant to be Trazin, and they decided that when they looked at it, they thought actually that's not the right model, because it came out at the same time as the new Orican model, right at the beginning of the edition. And and those two were the only 2 named characters that got new models, and the others all went to Legends. So it's So that's my Necron conspiracy theory that the Overlord with the translocation shroud was meant to be Trazin the Infinite, and they've decided to redo it. So it's meant to be coming back fairly soon. Fingers crossed. But yeah,
Do like that.
it's obviously I'm biased, but it's still one of my favourite books in the Black Library. I don't think there's another book that's like it. It's unique, The Infinite and the Divine.
Yeah.
It's and that's one of the reasons why I love Necrons.
Is it Trazyn that was in the Fabius Bile book when they were because did Fabius Bile not give Trazyn something and then
Oh
in
yes.
exchange for something?
Oh
Give
yes.
him was it a Primarch he gave or something?
Yes. Fabius, I mean, spoilers here, people, if you haven't read or you want to read the books.
Who gives a fuck if you've not read it? Don't fucking turn off and watch back, but I'll fucking spoil everything. If I've watched something, I'm going to spoil it in cunts.
Yeah. It's what we do. It's what we do. You've had long enough. If you haven't done it by now, it's your own fault.
This is true. It probably is about 15-year-old, that book, and then at least. But yeah, he gets betrayed by one of Abaddon's. Fabius Bile gets betrayed by one of Abaddon's lieutenants called Eidolon, I think the guy's called, who sends him to Trazyn's homeworld to get some gene seed. But he obviously doesn't know it's Trazyn's homeworld. Gets captured by Necrons because Eidolon's done a deal because Trazyn wants Fabius Bile for his collection. And the way Fabius Bile gets out of it is it turns out Fabius has been growing clones of the Primarchs. He has a cloned Fulgrim. He originally he's growing this. He births this guy and raises him, and because he wants to like resurrect the Legion with a new Fulgrim at its head. And then he realizes that Fulgrim's an absolute pain in the arse. So he goes to Trazyn like, "Look, I'll do you a deal. You let me go, and you can have him." Trazyn's like sold. He gets a Primarch out of it. He's very happy.
Because Eidolon was he not an Emperor's child as well? Was he not one of the Beatles? Do you know what I mean? So,
yes.
And I think he was one of the only surviving. Was it 300 Emperor's children that survived before Fulgrim joined? Or was it 1,000? And Fulgrim was he was the only apothecary left. That when Fulgrim joined the 1,000 Legions, because they were all dying through some mutation, and when Fulgrim joined and when Fulgrim joined and Fabius was only one, Fulgrim went, I just don't do what you want, help my sons be cured, and Eidolon didn't like him because of that, because there was only a small amount of them left.
I didn't even know that. This is the thing, I'd give up on the lore at a certain point. It just goes so insane. You're just like, I can't keep up with this. I can barely keep up with my 6-year-old son. Now I've got to learn all this madness. Nah.
I mean, that's what I love about, sorry for jumping in here, Dan, that's what I love about the Fabius Bile books, is that he touches base with probably every faction that is in his trilogy of books.
Yes.
So like one of the best trilogies to read if you're looking for some Dark Eldar, if you're looking for some Necron loving, if you're looking for some Space Marines, if I can try, he fucks over everybody and gets fucked by everybody. Do you know what I mean? I think the only person he doesn't come across is Cypher at one point, but they are a brilliant trilogy of books to read. I've listened to them when I'm working 2 or 3 times now, and I love Fabius. That's why I bought the model.
I want to buy it when I get a bit better at painting. I'd love to buy that and paint it. But that somebody lent me those books, and he did tell me at the time, like, be really careful with this. And I was not really careful with it. I fell asleep while I was reading it, and it fell off the bed. And then the dog like laid on it. But I don't know, like, if you're dog people, but my dog doesn't just come in and lie down. She kind of like almost does a somersault onto the floor, like and she just fucked it. And I went, the cover's knackered. I'm really sorry about this. And I said, I'll get you another one. And I went on eBay to have a look to get him another one. And they were 250 quid. I managed to find one for 150, and it's sat out there now, which I'm going to give it back after my holidays. But because I'm like, that's the most expensive thing anybody's ever entrusted to me, and I ruined it. So I had to get it replaced. So yeah, I haven't been, for obvious reasons, I'm not buying anything for the hobby for the next few months because I've spent it all.
You say that now, but once the Discord money and the YouTube money comes in, I reckon this. Like, I'm gonna have a wee bit of fun here, right? I reckon this was pre-planned. This is like something you see in fucking Dragon's Den, where you brought your ex-wife on, right? You got the channel successful. You've seen there was maybe somebody in the background, and then you bought them out. And then when you see an update, it's like, yeah, I bought the Dragons out for 10%, and then I sold the company for £500 billion 3 weeks later. Peter Jones is raging in the background. I think that's what's happened here.
Yeah, well, I'm actually. It's not. We've just got our first affiliate link, which is true. Which is the T-shirt I'm wearing here, which is Gambit Gaming, who do
Oh yeah.
some. Yeah, this one's a nice orc one, but they do all basically in T-shirts inspired by 40k factions. I don't think they're doing Necron one still, but they've got some lush T-shirts now. So
That
I
feels
haven't.
like a wasted opportunity to like. They could have affiliated with you, done a Necron T-shirt. Ah, what a lost opportunity.
Yeah, but when it comes out, I'm hoping I'll be first in the queue, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, we're not, they're a well-known company. They're up there with the likes of Orange Brushes, who sponsor your good selves.
Wait, what's this? Don't be doing our adverts for us. I had one planned and you've just ruined it.
Sorry, Casey.
It's fine, don't worry. Code Inquisition at checkout though, 10% off. There you go.
There you go.
Any other plans for like looking at affiliation and just trying to get a bit more growth there then, do you think? Or you're just happy with you've got one and that'll do you?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a couple of chats with some independent gaming stores, and nothing actually came of it in the end. But a lot of them, the independent ones, even the ones that are quite substantial, have had. What's the best way to say this? I was going to say had their fingers burned. I don't want to imply that content creators haven't delivered for them, and I think these gaming stores were happy to spend the money with them, but I don't think they got the return that they were expecting. So there are a lot, and also if you think about where the online hobby was, even 2 or 3 years ago, I reckon there's about 3 or 4. I almost see a new person pop up every week that's creating content, which is great for the hobby. But if you want to try and if there's increasingly more and more people competing for that pie. So it comes back to what we were talking about earlier about, commercially, is the investment in your time to get that money worth it, or would I be better off actually doing some work from a proper job, instead of just skiving off and making Necron content? So the channel is where it is, and I'm trying at the moment not to worry about all of that stuff. If I would love some free stuff. Is anybody watching that wants to give me some free stuff? That's fine. But I'm not really looking to chase that side of the commercial side of it at the moment.
Yeah.
I just want to enjoy. I know it's cheesy, right? But one of the best things about doing this has been meeting people like you guys. Obviously, I haven't met you in real life yet. Keep trying to invite myself around to Casey. But that's kind of community, like you were saying with the Discord and stuff. I love all that side of it. That's the reward. That's the reward that you get from doing this stuff. It's not monetary. You're never gonna get a monetary reward from doing this.
We can try, but it won't happen. Sorry, Dunk, you were going to say something there, mate.
I was just telling me to stop. Like, you're embarrassing us.
Well, is that why you've shut your camera off because you're touching yourself while I'm talking about you?
No, my camera's still on, is it?
Dunk's got this thing, right, that the moment he turns his camera off, for some reason it doesn't come back on. But when you watch the episode back, it will still be there. This is the madness of Instagram, and we've had issues with it. Like, 2-second attempt to get everyone on today, and it worked. That was great because last week it took like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
But it's just Instagram. It's shit. But I love it. This is the thing. I'm sitting there slagging it off, but it also is our platform of choice. So what can we do? I'm going
to see if this works. I'm going to introduce you to my pest. See if we can see it. There she is.
Bonnie dog, look at that. Yes. Good old Connie.
Say hello for you. Good girl. Go and lie down now. She's bringing me a variety of toys, trying to get me to play with her because she doesn't like me talking to strangers.
Is it me, or do collies, are they just the most loyal, dumb things you can ever come across? Like, my old dog was a collie, and like you just sort of said there, like there were times when she'd lie down, she wouldn't just sort of lie down, it'd have to be 10 laps of herself, and then she'd roll over and then get comfortable. And then there was the thing, like she'd find something in the garden that's been out there for weeks, it's caked in fox shit and all sorts, but she still drags it into the house. Yeah. They're not all there, are they?
No, they're definitely not all there. They're proper characters. I do love them. It was weird. Like, we'd always had black labs when I was growing up, and they're lovely dogs, but they're thick as mints. And then when I got her, she was like running rings around me because I just was not prepared for a dog that was like had a couple of brain cells. But yeah, she's all right. She's a pain. She's causing us a lot of stress. She developed epilepsy back end of last year. So yeah, so she's all right. Like she's getting medication. She had, but yeah. She's it's quite common, more apparently in collies, but
Yeah,
nobody tells you these things before you buy one, do they?
Who
that's a
buys a
mad one.
collie? You just adopt a collie because there's that fucking many of them. I've got a collie, I've got a German Shepherd, and I've got a collie mixed with a fucking spaniel, and she is a fucking nightmare. Like as you say, she doesn't like go gently on the floor. She
No,
just plops herself. It's like a fucking bomb hitting.
it's like they want everyone to know that, like, yeah, it's unreal.
They've got no sense that they're quite a big dog, and they'll just think they're tiny, smaller than they are. But yeah, they're just.
Yeah, I love her to bits, but she's actually been quite good tonight. Normally, she's the very first time I tried to do something like this was with another Necron guy called Nick. He's got a channel called Etiquette. He's like the king of Necron YouTube. He's been going for years, and the dog just barked for like about 20 minutes. It was just all the way through the podcast. So I'll take a couple of interruptions like that. We're getting away lightly, I think.
It's got to be fun as well when you're trying to do a video now indoors. You can't escape to Jack's, and you're halfway through something and then the dog just appears.
Oh yeah. She had a bark. She does that occasionally. But Jack had a collie. Well, she does have a collie as well. But she would just come in for a stroke and then go off again. She's very chilled. But yeah, the dog goes up to doggy daycare on a Monday up to me father-in-law's because he's got collie and a couple of spaniels up there and that. So and that's recording day now. Yeah, no dog.
When you say
I did have a Labrador, and they are incredibly stupid.
Yeah.
But my wife's type 1 diabetic, and she would always know when my wife's blood sugar levels had dropped. She could smell it.
Wow.
So there was a few times that she would wake my wife up, sleeping, to wake up to check her. We're hoping that the other two fucking retards do it as well, but I doubt that. But she would wake Geraldine up sometimes if she was sleeping, or she was about to, or sugars were dropping quite quickly.
That's awesome.
That's the madness of dogs, isn't it? It's the fact that I think we were talking about it when we had what's James from Siege on. Like, you can train a dog to do bloody anything. Like they're getting dogs to catch cancer nowadays and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Why would you want a cat ever?
Yeah.
So if you want an animal that will start eating you 5 minutes after you die, then get a cat.
Yes. Yeah, if you want something that will just actually just shit everywhere and then eat it and then probably throw up, get a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and fucking Bella, the oldest dog, did that. I fucking dropped a chip out the frying pan, and quick as a flash, she ate it, and it actually must have burnt her fucking throat, because then she spewed up her food, and then the other two tried to eat it, and I'm trying to fucking serve dinner at the same fucking time. Oh my god! And then Geraldine's sitting there going, "Where's my dinner?" And I'm like, "Woman, one of the dogs is spewed, the other two are trying to eat it. I'm trying to clean it up and get the dinner at the same time." It was fucking mental.
Lovely.
There's never a dull moment in your house, is there?
No, definitely not. It's mad.
Come on then, while we're talking about dull moments, what is with all the jam?
That is my other hobby, is making jam. So I used to have an allotment, and after that I brought some raspberries home and would grow some raspberries in the garden because they're dead easy to grow, and they like anything like basically Newcastle North is about the right kind of climate for them. They like it not too hot and a bit wet, so they grow. You get loads of them. So yeah, we make our own jam, raspberry jam.
And how many did you get in this batch? Because when you were taking the pictures of it, it looks like an insane amount.
I was 10 jars here, and that's Yeah, that's about 3 days worth of raspberries, I think. 4 days, maybe. You get a lot of raspberries. Yeah.
And then I've seen my girlfriend make jam. She cheated. She used frozen fruit because
There's nothing wrong with that.
it's Sunderland, though. They just prefer things from Iceland.
Yeah.
But it's just you never realise the amount of sugar you got to put into it. It's mad. You might as well just be eating liquid sugar at some point.
It's about 50-50, yeah. It's a lot of sugar, but
So
it's
can you send some to Dunk just for when his missus is having a hypo?
yes, I will definitely send some to you. I sent something to Jeff at the Paint Face because he was asking after it, and so I posted him some. I wasn't sure, obviously, sending glass jars through the post and all that, but it got there all right. So yeah, you guys give us your addresses, and I'll definitely send you a charge out.
There you go, Dunk.
Awesome.
Sort
as long as there's no Rohypnol in it, we'll be fine.
Oh, stick it in and then just don't tell the missus. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I do to the missus every night. Hey!
There we go. So we've talked channel, we've talked jam, we've talked
Yes.
next terms. What about yourself? Obviously, you're going on your holiday tomorrow. How much are you looking forward to that?
Yeah, I am actually. I mean, I know it's cheesy, but I was Googling today whether there's any good local gaming stores in Amsterdam, because they've got 2 Warhammers, it turns out. But there is a couple. I mean, everyone likes, Warhammer's shops are all the same everywhere you go, pretty much. But I want to see if they've got some local gaming stores. I might go and stick my head in. If you don't at least come home with 1 box of foreign minis, then you're not really on holiday, are you?
Where is it you're going? Where is it you're going, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, going to Amsterdam. So we've got 3 kids. The eldest is 26. He moved out ages ago, but he somehow invited himself on this holiday because I'm paying for it with his missus. And then, but the reason we're going is our younger 2 have just finished respectively their A levels and their GCSEs. So it's the one time when they're finished school before the official school holiday, so you can go before the prices go mad. So that's the plan. So lots of. I mean, they all look like me. I mean, obviously they've got hair, but other than that, they're all like me. They're ginger and pale, so we're not going like Spain for Benidorm for a week would kill us all. So Amsterdam is about early 20s, mid 20s heat, and it's a nice city. So
it's a lovely city. It's a lovely city. How do I word this without it sounding too rude? Because obviously we all know what Amsterdam is famous for, but that is not the main reason we go. How many of the galleries and the other cultural things are you planning on seeing?
Oh yeah, the daughter's done an itinerary. So yeah, I've been before and seen a few of them. And I went on a school trip when I was 11, which is back in the 80s, mid 80s, late 80s, and they were like, teachers back then didn't were different to today.
Yeah.
And like one of the days, like we'd been out for a couple of days and had an afternoon to have a look around, do some sightseeing. The teachers basically took us around for half an hour and went, right, we're going to the pub. You lot come and have a look, but stay in this area and definitely don't go that way, because that way is the red light district. So that's exactly where we went. So the teachers came out half cut. We'd all pissed off, and then they spent the next 2 hours trying to drag us out of various adult bookshops and stuff, like the sex toy shops and stuff. It was very educational.
They were very educational film trips, those ones to Amsterdam. I do hope, and I will say the story, I do hope that you don't have Anne Frank's house on the itinerary. It's the most depressing thing I have ever gone to, obviously for what it is, but at the same time, I was in completely the wrong state of mind to be in there. As you can imagine, if I had said that, you can imagine what I might have imbibed. And it was the worst come down I have ever experienced.
Oh, that does not sound good.
It was terrible.
No, I mean, that's pretty hardcore. Like, if you're going to if you're going to do certain things in Amsterdam, then that is the last place that you want to go.
What it was.
The first time I went with my pals in the 90s, we imbibed a lot of mushrooms, and then I got lost for about half a day. This elderly, gay Dutch couple, literally had to take me home. I was about an hour away from the hotel. My pal
That,
just a
that,
band. I don't know where they went. They just scattered like in the breeze. But yeah, don't do that, kids. It's not good.
every time I've been to Amsterdam, I've never made it out the red light district. I've always just sat there, and like I've never went to the Heineken Museum. I've never
Yeah.
went to Anne Frank's house. Never even went to see Ajax's ground. Just sitting watching people timing on me. When me and the wife went there, we went there about 10 years ago, and we sat there outside one of the brothels and just sat and timed people, and then we're cheering them. Hey, you dirty bastard!
That's the big thing, isn't it? When you see someone come out of one of the windows or doors, you go, "Hey!" You got to give them a bit of bit of abuse.
When you said you'd never made it out of the red light district, then Dunk, I just had an image of you in the window,
Well, when
selling your
when
wares.
when me and the missus were there, we did ask if we could put the missus in the window, and we think we paid a prize about €10, €20, just for my wife to stand on the other side so I could get a picture of her. She said that she felt like a fish in a goldfish bowl because she didn't know what to do. And I was like,
Aye.
well, pretty sure somebody give you money, you figure it out.
Well, next time you
Easiest,
go back, you get one in the window,
yeah,
definitely.
easiest €10 she made all day.
Yeah.
No, that I think you're right though, Dunk. I've gone there a couple of times, and it captures you, and it's not even because of obviously what it is. There's so many nice bars and the coffee houses and all of that sort of stuff. It's all just crammed into the one bit. I think the only other place I've seen when I go there is a pizza shop and the KFC. That's it.
Yeah.
There's a KFC.
Yeah, they've got KFC. It was on the way from the train station into the town centre.
You learn something new every day.
There you go. And I always remember it because I bought 100 hot wings for €20.
But you know what else costs you roughly €20?
There it is.
Orange brushes, people.
Hey.
The starter set is less than €20. Now, how good was that? That wasn't even practice, folks. That just popped into this fragile little ginger beard, balding head face. That's
I
how
was
good they are.
I was going
Remember,
to make a thing about I'm here with two lovely skinned-headed and auburn bearded men, and what else is relatively orange brushes. But
Yes.
you got in there and it was much better, and now I sound like an idiot. So there you go.
I was going to say this is why you guys got sponsored a lot earlier than we did, because that was smooth as fuck. But then you've just killed it now, Casey.
Yeah, I did.
and that's why we
Yeah.
don't have any other sponsors, because once we do it, then people just go, nah.
And then we've got to try and think of more fun segues and stuff. And who needs that? It just seems like effort.
Yes.
It's
What
like our editing. We don't edit, we just download and then upload. That's what our editing is. We don't, no fancy screen shapes or anything like that. I think I've managed to, I think Starman of Terror asked us to delete maybe about 2 minutes worth of footage, the original still on Instagram, but on the YouTube we did edit, and it took me like 4 hours to edit 2 minutes. I didn't know what I was doing.
Oh, yeah.
See,
It's
that's
yeah. Most of the videos when that I used to make with Jack, we would be one take wonders. So we'd sit down, have a chat, and then you just top and tail it like, and that's it. It's done. You know, put the intro music on, and that's it. When you're doing a video by yourself and you're talking to camera, you fuck up all the time. So you've got all these little bits that you've got to cut out, or you've got to do a segment again. You know, because the sound wasn't right, or you forgot to turn the microphone on, all that kind of stuff. But it's all fun and games. I mean, I'm actually, to start with, it was horrible, and now I'm I don't like. I'm one of those people that doesn't like things that they're not naturally good at. So I don't like. I didn't like editing, but now I'm starting to get into it. It's getting easier. It'll be all right.
yeah.
I
It's,
definitely think there's a wee side project that me and you could do, Dan. Baldy Ginger Painters. I think that's
Yes.
something new. You've heard of Baldy, was it Fat Greasy Bikers, or like whatever they were called?
fat
What
hairy
were they
bikers.
called? Fat hairy bikers. That's it. Yeah.
And they weren't even fat; they were just the hairy bikers. What are we talking about?
Oh,
It was.
are we merging with the two fat? Was there some women called two fat ladies? Maybe they're
Yes,
merging them with
that
them.
was it.
Yeah.
Somehow
There
we've
you go.
amalgamated them into again the same thing.
Two fat hairy ginger lady painters. That's us. There we go. Get that
Oh,
copyrighted.
that would trigger so many fucking incels and fucking Warhammer, man. It would be brilliant. That would be absolutely brilliant.
But that's actually a very good point, though, Dunk. Where now you are sailing free, would you be up for any sort of collaborations with other podcast groups? I know you said you had one on already. Would you be open for, jumping on out there and getting other sort of teams onto your channel and doing chats with them?
Yeah, is the short answer. Once I've got my feet back on the table, and it's a slightly different skill set. I'm probably most people on here probably like listening to this probably think I'm a bloody idiot, which probably am, but I'm a bit of a technophobe. So learning how to film a video like in situ, like where I am now, is a skill set. But you need a different skill set to do like a proper video where you interview someone like over on a video call. Do you know what I mean? Because you've got there's all sorts of different parameters about where you get the inputs from, so you can adjust the volumes and things like that. I'll figure it out, but I haven't figured it out yet. But the short answer is absolutely, because I was thinking about it for a while. Actually, before we did the podcast, as a side project, was about doing something like that to talk to content creators. Try and do it not the same. I don't want to do it the same way as you guys do it, but what I like about what you guys do is you don't ask the same questions as everybody else. So one of the things we looked at when we were like researching whether we should do a podcast was there was a lot of, and I don't mean this to sound snobby, but there was a well-trodden route where people would ask, the same guests would be on the podcast and they would ask fairly similar questions.
Yeah.
And you're like, once it was a little bit like once you watched one of them, then you kind of knew what you didn't need to watch anymore. So I didn't want to do that. So if I can think of some interesting things to ask people, then I would definitely want to do that. Yeah. And I think it's about, I appreciate you guys having me on here, and it'd be nice to be able to return the favor as well. That kind of thing, so you're not just taking from other content creators, you're actually doing something for them as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is something that we've talked about, Dunk, recently a lot, isn't it? That, it's great that there are so many people out there doing the same thing, but, you've got to give back to everyone, haven't you?
Yeah, I think so. And it's good. I mean, I think the community is in an interesting place, because Warhammer has grown so much over the past like 3 years. Even there are people, or a cynic like me might think this. Maybe I'm wrong, but it looks to me that there are people coming in who see it as a quick route to gaining followers and getting monetization, etc., etc. There are people in it who maybe aren't in it for the right reasons. And that's not the majority. The vast majority, I think, definitely are. Like we said, nobody goes to this much trouble unless they really like the hobby. But it's starting to happen. It happened in video games a lot sooner, like years ago. And I think we're starting to see that same thing happening in the hobby on the content creation side.
I think
I'm going to throw in my 2 p's worth here, right? Now, I feel a bit annoyed in some instances where nobody's actually came out and actually asked us individually or together to come onto a podcast. And that's just me now and again. I get a wee bit annoyed with that, because there's so many people who do lives and stuff that do their own thing, and we've brought them onto ours, and you're thinking, well, maybe they've get a wee following out of us, a wee follower boost, and they've not asked us to come on. Now, that's just a wee fleeting moment that I have every minute of every second of every day. No, but it does annoy me sometimes when you don't get a wee bit of love back from people. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not in it for followers, but like Casey's been in the hobby a lot longer than I have, and like, so I'm like a kind of tourist to a certain extent. But as you say, there is a lot more people starting to creep in now that are only in it for themselves. And I have asked people to come on, and a couple of people have turned around and said to me, how big's your following? What am I going to get out of this? I'm like, well,
Right.
that's annoying, because this is, when we set this up, this wasn't for followers. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm contradicting myself in saying this about not being invited on, but it would be nice if Casey get invited on somewhere. Do you know what I mean? Like, because he's been in the hobby a long time, and we chat shite You know what I mean? Like, I'm a Star Wars man through and through from the start. But I
Yeah.
think for people like Casey, I think he should be on somebody's podcast. You know what I mean? Now and again.
Yeah, I don't think you maybe he's doing yourself down a little bit there. You've been, you have been in the hobby for a while now, but also, um, it's about having different perspectives,
Yeah.
and someone, your perspective from because of when the timeline when you entered the hobby. Don't know why I've done those little feet walking across the screen there. Never mind. But the timeline when I'm going to do it again. The timeline when you entered the hobby was, is such a different point that you have a different perspective to both of us, who also have different perspectives to each other because of when we entered the hobby, and that's just how it is. But it doesn't mean yours is any less valid.
Oh, I know that, but I'm just thinking like I get into the hobby basically through the Horus Heresy books
Yeah,
easily 15 years ago. And it took me up until just before lockdown. I had a bonus voucher, got me into the painting side of it. But I had tattoos and that before, and I knew
yeah.
what faction I was always going to be. But like, it is annoying when you see people who started after you. It's maybe a wee bit envy as well, who are getting more realization. But then you realise that a lot of it's just a big fucking wanking each other off fest as well.
I
There
think,
is there is
yeah,
definitely a circle jerk, in some areas, and I think, but again, I might be being overly cynical about that as well, because it's just, if the other side of that is maybe is that those people just support each other and help each other, and that's got to be a good thing.
yeah,
But I have noticed you're not that you guys haven't been, on other stuff, and I am acutely aware, like I said before, like, particularly, um,
Now, I'm not saying this for us then to get a mass load of invites
no,
for
I
those
know.
people watching. You know what I mean? Because I would probably say no. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't like to be questioned, if that makes sense. I like doing what
why
I
you
do.
host your own one?
Yeah, well,
That would be hilarious if someone invited you on and you just went, "I'm not answering that. Fuck off. No, next question."
Just started staring
Just
at them for
for
an
an
hour.
hour. But yeah,
you
What
still
was
get to
the
answer that. Fucking
what was the Banzai thing where someone it was the interviewer who'd sort of shake your hand, ask one question and just stare at them for an hour?
yes, yeah,
yeah,
class.
they asked one question and you had Shaky Hand Man, who was
Shaky
three of
hand,
them
man.
on the,
Yeah,
and then it went to, he did two recognised, so they did Shaky Hand Women. The three I
yes.
That's
wanted to
right.
shake their hands for. Yeah,
Oh,
Banzai
shot.
was brilliant. That was a great drink. That was a great pre-club drinking game.
I never, yeah, I was just slightly too young to drink for it. Mostly
How
because
old
I
were you?
still actually lived at my mum's at the time. I must have been about 16. I don't think she would have let me get smashed watching Banzai, but it was amazing. But I've derailed that there, obviously, because that's what we do. But I think you boys are right that there does seem to be an influx of people who, at the moment, I wouldn't even say like I get the feeling, yeah, they're latching onto Warhammer potentially because they failed maybe somewhere else or they've done something else and it's not gone right for them because
Yeah,
the market's saturated. I think that's the big thing as well at the moment with a lot of streaming like Twitch, Insta, YouTube. There's now so many people out there who do it, and part of me loves that because, as
yeah,
you were saying, Dan, everyone's got slightly different opinions, but it's also people showing off their hobby in their own way. And then you do get others that just sort of pop up for 5 minutes. They know how the games work, they know how the algorithms work, and they churn out the stuff that fits them and suits them. And next minute they're getting, you know, I'll say it, there's always Element Games. You always see Element Games popping up and stuff. They're never going to sponsor me, so I don't give a shit. But it's always the same. I think you were touching on it earlier with affiliation. It's always the same companies, and then when they get guests on, it's always the same guests that you see everywhere else, the same questions that you hear them asking. And
But I think
we
that's
did
what
it with,
makes us. I think that's what makes us different from
yeah,
every other
yeah,
and
podcast.
it's with yourself as well, Dan. It's what makes you guys different because you've always just done your own thing for that whole time your channel's existed. It's like, oh, great, that's happening. We're still doing Necrons. Fuck you.
yeah. And I think you have to. I think I've said this last time I came on, but it definitely rings true. Still, is you've got to be authentic. Some people who will fake it until they make it, and then they will eventually get in, into the hobby, and they will progress. But ultimately, I think it will be the same as a video game content creation. Is that most people have got quite good bullshit filters, and the people who are either in it for the wrong reasons or aren't really actually in it won't last. But we'll see what happens. And I feel like I've just dragged us down a very negative outside alley there, and it's not. I think the influx of creators in general is a really good thing for the reasons that you outlaid before, and I think it's a great sign for the health of the hobby that that more people are interested in making content about it, and it's easier than ever to make content now as well. I'm just not very good at the technical side of it. I make it harder than it should be. But generally speaking, I think the hobby, and I don't mean just Warhammer, the hobby as a whole is in a very good place. Warhammer itself is in a very good place, and I think if GW, I reckon, would be very happy if they can plateau for the next 2 years before Cavill finally finishes making his Amazon show, and then it's just going to go whoosh again, like the biggest whoosh we've ever seen. I mean, it kind of took everyone by surprise, the latest influx, and a lot of it was to do with Space Marine 2, because that game was so successful and it turned a lot of new people onto the hobby. But generally speaking, it's not, the stigma's gone. Like, it doesn't feel like the stigma's there that it was even a few years ago, I reckon.
I think with the likes of TikTok exploding, and Reels and Facebook Shorts and YouTube Shorts, and people like yourselves, and to a lesser extent ourselves as well, putting that much content out, like, our hobby has exploded because everybody was playing Space Marine 2, everybody was playing Dark Tide even before it, and then the big hitters started getting named like Lowiton, like, for me, Games Workshop or Warhammer is like fucking weed or hash back in the day. It was the gateway drug, and then everybody then moves into other things. Like, even like Fallout's now is starting to get a bit of a following now, and other games are starting to. So once you get used to having the weed, then you start experimenting with acid and speed and other things, and then you always go back to a wee bit of weed because that's what you know and that's what you love. But you always you experiment with everything, don't you? And I think that's why the hobby is in a good place just now, because you do have content creators like Mike Moans and Mediocre Hobbies who do a wide variety. Like, Mike only does Dungeons and Dragons and Rumble Slam, which I'd never heard of up until about 2 years ago. And then you've got Mediocre Hobbies who does everything as well, who are churning content out every day.
Yeah. I think, I mean, without the growth in Warhammer, I don't think something like Trench Crusade can be the success that it could be. And that's obviously the outlier, because most of these things are much more under the radar. Trench Crusade just kind of ticked an awful lot of the right boxes for a lot of people in the 40k community, or that had been in the 40k community. But it does go to show exactly what you said there, that it is like, it's the gateway to a whole new world. I mean, it frustrates me because, and it's a problem me I'm making, but if you are going to make videos about Necrons and you want to try not to sound like a twat, you need to play Necrons and, be in that hobby, in that area of the hobby. But what that does is it then restricts what time you've got to do those other things. Unfortunately, they've kind of fallen a bit by the wayside. So Trench Crusade, I was super stoked about that, and I still haven't played a single game of it. I've got a load of foam that I made my missus go and pick up off Free Cycle to make the trenches and the board for it. And it's been in the garage for a year, and she's really pissed off about it, and I won't throw it out, because I'm like, one day I'm going to get back around to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, in that respect, I fully agree. I think, and you had a guy on really good episode couple of months ago who'd produced that famous By Our Swords. I really wanted to give that a try. That sounds epic as well. So there's loads of stuff out there to if 40k isn't always for everyone all the time. I think, but there is the alternatives to 40k. That side of the hobby is better than it's ever been as well.
Like even like a couple of weeks ago, we had on Dark Souls models.
Yes.
Now that guy, that's like that guy 3D prints his own models, and that's just from a computer game. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like the hobby is in a good place with that aspect because like, and that's him get exposure. He doesn't need exposure, but it's him then being seen, and even with Eon McManus, who Penn managed to bring on, who made his own game, and I really want him to do that ambush game, IRA versus the Brits. That fucking sounds wicked, like absolutely
That
wicked.
sounded immense. Like just even just the concept of something different, like you were saying. This is how ingrained it was on my memory that he sat down and before you even play the game, you've got to spend a good 40 minutes planning at what the attackers are doing and what the defenders are doing, and you've got to sit down and draw diagrams and stuff. And it just made you think so much more out of the box. Like I know he was in the army, and obviously Dunk coming from the military as well. You guys have got that mindset that you know if you're walking down the street, you're thinking, what's up there, what's there, what's there, what's there, what's there. But when you're rolling dice on a board and you can see everything in front of you, it doesn't enter your mindset. And I think especially how competitively geared 40k is, you know, you're
Yeah.
thinking that point's there, that unit can do that. That point's there, that unit can do that. You can. It's a different mindset when you can't see the whole. It's the fog of war, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I would, not that I want to start shilling for GW because they're never going to sponsor me either, but I do think GW is aware of that. Like, GW wants the game to be competitive because they want it to be like Magic the Gathering, because that's
Yep.
how that kind of cycle is what makes loads of fucking money.
Mm-hmm.
What they gave us in this new card deck though was like good catch up mechanic, some really interesting twists, and then these asymmetric missions. So you can actually play casual 40k now and have a bit of fun with it. Which you couldn't do even a few months ago before that deck. I mean, you could, but you had to homebrew your own rules and all that. You know, if you
Yeah.
just want to casual, as as someone is a filthy casual, I do go to events and stuff, but I would class myself as a filthy casual, right? So if I want to feel a casual game with you, we can now use that deck and just have a pickup game, having never rolled dice together, and it not feel like a chess with a lot of extra maths.
Yep. Yep. And I think that's an important thing. Because like you said, I will quite happily say I am a casual player. But having that option open to you, because like the few games I've played of 10th, you go in there and you're reminded, here's your primaries, here's your secondaries change every time, here's your CP, you've got to remember about your CP and your
Yeah,
re-rolls. And it's just like, after 10 minutes, when you're starting off, your brain just fogs.
yeah,
And
yeah,
you do come out of it sometimes. You like the last game I played, I definitely came out of it thinking I deployed that wrong, I got that in the wrong place. But then also like anything that you could have learned about stratagems and stuff like that, you're just like, eh.
yeah. It's a massive mental load, and I
Mm.
think the circle of lads I play with all like to go to events by and large, and they are more competitive. When we play against each other, it's like a practice competitive game. Basically, that's what they like to play, and I'm quite fine with that. But they hit a wall about a few months ago, and last week or the week before we started a crusade, and none of us have played crusade. I haven't played it. I played it in last edition, but I've never played it in this edition. And I'll tell you what, it's really fucking good. It's much simpler. So the mission was like, it's 1,000 points first game, so it's nice and small. And the mission basically was hold more objectives, and that was it. There's no secondaries, but you get agendas. So before the game, you pick a couple of things that your warlord wants to try and do. And for Necrons, it was brilliant. It was like, can you reanimate 12 wounds? I was like, yes, I can reanimate 12 wounds. Um, and things like that, and then it's got that kind of RPG element to it as well, because you kind of if your unit dies, you roll a dice, and on a one it gets a battle scar, and you roll for that, and that can that's like something detrimental. If your unit's done really well in the battle, then it gets to level up, and you get a battle trait which gives you extra abilities or whatever. So it's very different to you kind of have to commit, because I think there's like a campaign. I think it's like 4 games or something, but it's 4 games, it's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
loads.
Absolutely.
But I would definitely, if you're not feeling and I fully on 90% of at least 90% of the hobby of 40k players are casuals. They're not competitive players. So the moment you've got like 10% who are really happy at the top, like me, going, oh yeah, I like this competitive game. It's nice and balanced, blah 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 blah. And then then you've got underneath that about another 20 or 30% who are trying to play the game and are like, I don't like this, but I'm going to persevere with it because it must be my problem, not the game's. And then underneath that is a bunch of people who are going, fuck this, I'm not playing this. It's too fiddly, you know.
Yeah.
It's not fun. So bringing the fun element back is, and the Crusade, I would definitely recommend that to you. I really would. I think it's a great way to play the game. Smaller model counts, much more thematic, easier games, and you feel more of an emotional connection to the units that you're playing with because the battle affects them in different ways.
It's much more like an almost Necromunda / old school second, third campaign editions that they used to do.
Yes, exactly. It's much more like the campaign kind of stuff of third edition, and it's like kind of like Necromunda Plus, I suppose. Not Necromunda's definitely that's something else that I would love to have the time to get into. It's cool as hell, Necromunda.
It does.
Yeah, I've been thinking about getting a gang together just for the sake of it, but I've got far too much. Like I'm doing this stupid purple lock nonsense now because I had an itch. So I'm fucking glutton for punishment, man.
I did enjoy you saying earlier that you were painting them, but no one could see them. I thought that was very clever. Well done, sir.
Yeah.
Because you can't see a purple lock because
I know.
Orcs
They're
believe
invisible.
that if they're purple, they're invisible because you've never seen a purple orc. I was going to go red because I know that's the OG colour for orcs. And then I was reading and I was like, purple would be pretty cool. And then when somebody said, oh, like purple orcs are invisible because you've never seen a purple orc, I was like, well, I would have to paint that badly. What are you working on this now?
Is that to me or that or both?
Both of these.
You look like you're painting something now. What are you up to?
Yeah, I am disgusted with myself because I'm painting an EC.
Oh, it looks nice, though.
I'm doing Black Legion because I am also a glutton for punishment. But I've got a Black Legion kill team, and
nice.
One of the standard legionary kill team, you've got specialists who get their various marks of chaos. I have my Cornet guy as a Corn Berserker, makes sense. I've got a Death Guard model in there if I need a Mark of Nurgle, perfect. My Sorcerer's converted Space Marine with just a Thousand Sun head on it because I thought that looked cool. But the Cry of Talon, which is essentially the Emperor's Children, knifey, stabby, I'm going to rip your face off guy.
Yes.
Because the Emperor's Children didn't have models for ages, I didn't do one. And also because I pretty much didn't really like the rules and I preferred to have just a guy with a huge fuck-off gun. But then they released the Emperor's Children. I was like, maybe I'll buy a single, I'll wait to see. And then they give it away as many of the month and I'm finally getting around to painting it.
Nice. I always forget to ask about mini of the month. I'm in the shop probably at least once a month buying paint, and I've never picked up a single mini of the month yet. I'm an idiot.
It's the first thing I do when they come out, and that's mostly because my kid wants to go in there and get it. And he hasn't painted anything for ages, but he still loves going in there. He'll walk in the door. He doesn't say hello. He doesn't say, what can we look at? He's like, where's my free model? It's like, oh my God, shut up, you dick. Like, at least ask, at least pretend to be interested in the guy and say hello to him. Not just walk in there like, where's my mini?
It's Warhammer shop. They're used to it from grown men, probably.
Yeah, a 6-year-old getting away with it. I'm like, oh, you
cute. Yeah.
So what about yourself? What are you working on, Dan?
I've got a Scorpec Lord on the go at the moment. Hang on a second.
Another one?
Yeah. I've got where is he? I moved everything around the other week and then I can't find shit now.
Always all right.
Yeah. Where is he? There he is. Got him. This guy.
Oh, very nice. Yeah.
He's coming on all right. He's got all the base coats done. He's just got a lot of his base. He's got the shading and highlights to do now. But Yeah,
Here's a question for you with respect to Necrons then, because this is something I was thinking about the other night. And Dunk, I know you still have some Necrons on the go, but very nice. I got gifted a little while ago a few extra Necrons. I put it in. I actually was in the Discord asking some questions about it.
Yeah.
So I will just show very quickly. I did finish them. Where they got but
Did you paint them purple and they're now invisible?
hey, I converted a warrior into
a death mark.
a death
Nice.
mark
Yeah.
because it feels like you get loads and loads of bits with all the Necron kits, but it just feels a bit of a waste because you only get one body. So it could be either or. And they're fiddly enough. You can't really magnetize a Necron.
No.
It feels like a bit of a waste opportunity, doesn't it? That you can't, that they wouldn't just be like, oh yeah, just do what you want. You slap it on anybody. Make it a little bit of a multi-part kit for the warriors, for example, that you can give them a bulkier chest or not. Or
that's the genius thing and I think if GW had the time over, I think that's exactly what they do, is have a base model, and then you, because that box, the death marks come, you can build, they come in a box of 5, and you can build them either as death marks or one of 2 variants of immortals. So there is 3 different loadouts you can get out of that, but there's only 5 bodies in there in the box. And that takes us back to what I was talking about earlier about that range refresh we got. It was like peak fiddly GW. So that they would chuck loads of bits in a box, and if you look at what they do now, there's like no space on the sprue, and you just get the bits you need. You're lucky if you get a spare head option. But that box is incredible, and like the one you've just shown there. Actually, it's not too difficult to do, and it looks good. Like the arms, the Deathmark arms fit on there pretty well.
yeah, it was a bit of a fiddle trying to get the shoulders in properly. Because obviously the warrior kit is so narrow and the Deathmark arms are a lot wider.
A bit wider, yeah.
But bit of tension, bit of super glue, and it was fine. And yeah, the heads might not have gone on right, but they all look like they're looking down the gun sights. So,
spot on.
It works. It just feels like, I don't know what you think with that, Dunk, as well. Like that sometimes you can be put off by armies because you buy one box, but it feels like you have to just keep buying more.
Like,
that's what they want.
The worst model to fucking build, I feel, is the fucking flayed ones. Those are complete cunts to build. Absolute bell ends, man. And it kind of put me, actually, because of them, it actually stopped me. I've not painted a Necron in fucking easily a year now because of them. Because there's just glue everywhere at that point when you're trying to fucking... Like, what the fuck, Games Workshop? It says, well, you're just cutting up a sprue to attach another sprue to each other. They're bastards, like. But you feel as though with the Necrons, it should just be like one body. Here's a ton of heads, here's a ton of weapons. Go at it. Do you know what I mean? And that would be pretty cool.
I think so. I think, we might... we're not going to get a range refresh probably again for about another 5-10 years, but when it comes around, that'll be the direction I think they'll go in, is more that multi-part stuff off a base model. But there's also, those days are literally gone. Like even 5-10 years ago, they stopped doing that. Like you are not going to get, it's very rare and that they make anything now with that level of kind of kit bashability, I suppose.
Yeah, I do enjoy sometimes that, obviously, again, referring back to Space Marines, that you can do, a generic Space Marine body can do so many different things, but the kits are now, so here's just 10 with a rifle, here's 10 with flamethrowers, here's 10 with rocket launchers, and it just feels a bit shit.
It is. I think, there's a very, very old head when the first, I was a kid when the first plastic Space Marine box dropped. And I think it was like 20 quid for 30 Space Marines or something like that. It was amazing. But they were very much monopose Space Marines. And even the second edition ones to a certain degree, the famous one with that's holding this bolt gun sideways and all, just push the bolt gun in. But, and then we went through this, once they got the hang of plastic molding, and then we went through this era of wow, we can do anything with these models. And now they're back to nah, we don't want you to do anything with these. They'd say they do, you know, that they're like, wow, look at this great kit bash or whatever, as long as it's all 100% GW parts. But
Yes.
yeah, but really they want to, like you said, ring fence that sprue so that you can only do that with it, and then you have to buy another sprue to do something else. And that's
Yeah.
just, you know, it's just how they monetized it. It's not gonna, it's never. Though we've had the best days of those sprues. But Dunk's right about. I mean, the flayed ones, I would argue, Tomb Blades are the worst model to build. There is about 5 or 6 bits on that, like on the back end of that model, that could easily be one piece, and then instead of 5 or 6 pieces. But the flayed ones are the same. There's a couple of those flayed ones where like they've got you glue the claw on, and then you have to go and cut off one more claw. And you're like,
Yeah.
why didn't you just make that
It was
one
the
bit?
one with it was the mini that had the whole like body draped over it, and it's
Oh
got
yeah,
a piece that's an arm. It's just like
yes,
half an arm that you've got to try and line up on the shoulder somewhere.
yeah,
So
yeah,
where's
yeah,
the madness of that?
yeah. I was
And
talking
then
to a guy at Warhammer World. He was like, came over, you know what people want will like, oh, they come over, can I have a look at your models? Yeah, of course. He's like, wow, where did you get that arm from? I like, comes in the kit. He's like, really? I must have just not seen that. He just chucked it away when he finished.
but I tell you what, Dunk, I remember I did mine before yours, Dunk. And the worst thing that happened to me building those flames one was there's one where it's like the claw, the finger on it is like a good 2 or 3 millimeters long. And I was trying to glue it in place and my finger slipped and I stabbed
Oh,
myself in between down the cuticle. I
oh.
was in agony and I was like, don't, these things are bastards. Don't ever get a set. 2 months later, you were building it and did it as well. Words
Aye,
for punishment. They're horrible.
aye. But like, I love the lore of the Necrons. Like, I mean, Terminators, really, aren't they?
Oh yeah, angry Terminator Egyptian robots, thousands of years old, and they're pissed off with everyone. Love it.
I mean, up until they weren't in the first couple of editions. They were, I think, the first one was a Chaos Android, which was,
Yep.
I'm sure it was in like Space Crusade or something like that.
Yep.
It was, and then third edition to fifth, they were mindless robots, proper Terminator stuff. And then fifth, they did a complete 180 with the lore. And instead of being slaves of the Catan became like Pokemon, and they became the slaves of the Necrons.
Yep.
But without that, we don't get things like the Infinite and the Divine, you know, or because it gave the Necrons back that agency to allow them to have interesting stories in the lore, which is what we all want, you know.
Yeah,
It was,
that's it.
it was definitely what
And
they needed.
we're stupid enough to go and then buy the book. So it's win-win for Black Library and Games Workshop.
Yeah, yeah. I'm there's a few others. I think there's a couple of books about the Silent King, and he's also in the Dawn of Fire series. There's a new one of them coming out, isn't there? So we can't really complain. Necron players love to complain, but all 40k players love to complain. But we're actually we're quite a spoiled faction, really. We've got lots of units. We're quite a popular faction, so GW pays attention to it for things like balance, and you know, tries to do a good job of the codex and all that good stuff. So and then we get representation in the Black Library, so it's not a bad place to be.
No.
And listen, and you had your moment with 2 3 years ago at OVL, where your man backstreamed and managed to win the competition. And was it he beat fucking one of the strippers mates or something?
Yeah, yeah.
Tabletop Tactics they beat or some or
Yeah,
Vanguard
he dumped,
Tactics
what was
or
it?
something.
He dumped a monolith in the back line, was just like, come on then. And just ate the game, didn't he?
He did.
Beautiful.
Matt Laura, yeah, he's on. He's a lovely lad. He's on a couple of the competitive Necron groups on Facebook and that, and he pops up occasionally. Very chilled guy. But yeah, he basically. I think the reason he basically won it was he did drop a monolith in the Eldar's back line. So that was back when Eldar went mental, and I think he had to make boxcars to keep it alive, and he did. He rolled double six, kept it alive, and that won him the game. But that's why we love dice, isn't it? You know, it's like a form of gambling with no money involved. Well, you have to you lose all your money up front before you do the gambling with 40k, don't you?
Yeah, unless you're playing liar's dice for cash, and that's just a whole other kettle of fish.
Oh, yeah.
It is mental how much money we spend though, because what other hobby do you have where you go, yeah, so I play these party soldiers. Oh, that's really cool. Did they come with that? No. I have to build them. But did they come painted? No, I paint them as well. And it's a paint in the box. No, I have to go and buy the paint. But the paint comes with the brushes. Oh, no, I don't buy the brushes separately. I mean, what other
Think
hobby is like that?
think of it this way though, right? We're not as bad as the model train guys who have to pay the electric bills to keep their trains running. At least, they
Yeah,
do exactly the same stuff. They pay for the paints, they pay for the models, they do all their stuff, and then they got to pay to watch them go around in circles.
it's true. But I
Yeah,
do
but then
think,
we pay stupid money to go and enter competitions and drive to places. So who's really the biggest loser? They can do it from the
right.
comfort of their house with their wee hat on and their wee conductor's whistle. You know what I mean?
Just stuff like that control.
When I first got into Warhammer, before it was just before 40k came out, so I was playing Warhammer Fantasy Battle Second Edition, and a lot of the stuff that you wanted, like Warhammer, obviously didn't do scenery back then or terrain or anything, so you were having to scratch build everything, and you were going to the model railway shop in York. It was to get like bags of your flock, your green flock for doing your bases and stuff like that, and other little trees and all that kind of stuff. And the guys in there used to hate us because they knew that we weren't like interested in trains whatsoever. They were viewed as like real like outsiders that were coming into their space. Didn't like it at all.
How dare you come and buy our streaking grime?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
How dare you keep me in business, you bastard?
yeah. How dare you give me your custom? Yeah. Uh, the one was the same though. It was obviously called Games Workshop back then, but the one in York opened I think in '87, and that was it was just before 40k came out. But the guy in there, the manager in there, absolutely hated kids. He used to chuck us out all the time. We're like, you go in there and spend an hour trying to choose what to spend your pocket money on because you could afford like 2 blister packs or something. And if you didn't choose quick enough, he'd haul you out. Like, didn't want you, like, get out of my shop. They didn't want kids in the hobby back then because it was like a cool adult thing. Well, cool
Cool.
nerd adult
Yeah,
thing. Yeah.
that's it. And that's the madness of it, though, isn't it? There's always some next group that's the issue. And I suppose it's like we were saying earlier, like we've gone through the kids getting into it.
Yeah.
And obviously, there's a lot of people complaining about the amount of women getting into it. Now it's people latching on from different areas, and yeah, everyone's got what they can bring, but just yeah,
It's still not a very diverse hobby. It's still 90. Its vast majority is white men of a certain age. It's so in that respect, more content creators, even though I might be grumpy about it in some areas, like I talked about before. But if it helps bring in more people, I honestly don't think it's a bad thing. I've never understood this idea of gatekeeping, like we don't want these people in our hobby. There's been people like that in the hobby trying to gatekeep it since it started, and it never works. And but it's just so
Right?
negative, isn't it?
mm,
Yeah,
definitely.
I hate the gatekeeping, and it's like, oh, you can't get female custodians because it was written in a book that the custodians were the firstborn sons of the nobles. Listen, my
Yeah.
fucking friend, purples paint themselves purple, orcs paint themselves purple, and they think they're invisible. They put a fucking car tire on a stick and they believe it can fly, and it flies. And you're telling me we can't have female space marines or female custodians? Catch a grip of yourself. Do you know what I mean? It's like mental.
I mean,
Or
it's
when you
still
point
going
out the
on.
fact, or when you point out the fact that in second edition there was a half elf, half human ultramarine. Oh, but that was a different time. We've moved on from then, right? And
Yeah.
that's what we're doing now.
Don't
Yeah, I
cross
mean,
the custody.
there's a lot of mental gymnastics about it. The main argument, if I remember it correctly, is basically that the law settles down about third edition, and therefore everything from third onwards is canon. But what wasn't came before wasn't. And I'm like, but GW's never fucking said that. Like GW's never said, "Oh, this isn't canon and this is." It's just an arbitrary law that they've introduced to try and justify why you can't have changes in the law anymore. But it's the one constant about the law as since I've been in the hobby is that it changes, and if GW wants to change it, it will change it, and that's
Yeah,
not going to, it's always done that. I mean,
Same with Hamilton.
the big one was it was before you probably joined the hobby, Dunk, but you're probably aware of it. But the last big one was before all this kicked off about females custodians, and that was Primaris Marines, and that was massive. Like that was early
Yeah.
days or your earliest days of YouTube back then. We had people like setting fire to their armies, making videos of them burning their armies, and that that was That is the reaction to Custodes is nothing compared to the pain of those people that spent thousands on Firstborn Marines when they and being told that their toys weren't valid anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand why people would be annoyed in a competitive place, because it's like, well, that basically just means that all these new Space Marines are just trying to like destroy all the Chaos Space Marines because they're so much bigger and stronger. And then somebody must have realised, went, oh well, we can't really do it this way. We need to make them not like basically custodies on fucking heroin. Do you know what I mean? Because then there's going to be no more there's going to be no more Chaos Space Marines because they'll all get wiped out. Because that's just how it's going to go. Like, I can understand, but I would never fucking people that do like set fighter shit, like catch a drip of yourself, pal. It's a fucking, mind you. And saying that, I'm the guy that was raging at everything that happened in Star Wars in the last 3 films. So, and raging that all the Legend stuff was not canon and was moved to Legends instead of being canon, and like Disney
Did you
sold
set
it.
fire to your limited
I was
edition
one of
Princess Leia model?
But I would never set fire. I would just complain. Me and my mates would just complain to each other about it.
Yeah.
But I would never set fire. Like, that is just like catch a drip, man.
Yeah.
Right, gents. I am mindful that we have overrun tonight by a good 10 minutes. I'm mindful that Dan's off on holiday tomorrow, so let's not keep him much longer. So I think we can wrap it up there.
Yeah, that banana show isn't going to watch itself.
Hey, I've never been in one of them. It's the only thing I've not seen there, and for good reason. Right, so we'll wrap it up there tonight, gents. Dan, thank you very much for coming on again, mate. Appreciate you giving up your evening to chat to us both. This is now your time to plug yourself and your podcast off. You go, fella.
All right, thank you. Yeah, come and see us on YouTube. It's Warhammer with an O-W-O-R hammer. We're on YouTube, we're on Instagram. We'll come and find us over there. And also, as Casey kindly mentioned earlier, we've got a lovely little Discord which is free to join. We don't do any gatekeeping on that or paywalling, so come and join us over there as well.
Get your goose updates. That's the main reason we're all going on to it.
Yeah.
Dunk, mate, thank you very much for coming back on, cutting your holiday short. Would anything you would like to say to wrap the episode up?
It's just convenient that you and Jobber are both off on holiday at the same time. A little too convenient, some will say.
No, I'm not off on holiday. I'm going away for the first week of...
You're not Jobber. The fucking the car crash guy.
He's talking about car crash man again.
This week.
I always get there.
It's, if I'm saying now, you're not getting me to incriminate myself here.
I would love, right, for you two to actually find each other, right, and for him to do a Warhammer video and for you to do an insurance video. Just
that would be the best collab, yeah.
That would be the best fucking plot twist.
I will
of all time, by the way.
I will end today on a lookalike story because you'll both remember this, but I had an uncle who was the spitting image of Freddie Boswell from Bread. And there was a charity thing once in my town where I lived, and my dad found out about it, and we went round to my uncle's house, and my dad said to me, "Uncle, I need a hand with a job. Come give us a hand." So my uncle's jumped in his car. We've driven around the corner to this place. My uncle's like, "This ain't your home." We've walked in, and we're like, "Look, it's Freddie Boswell and Freddie Boswell." So we've got this lovely picture of my uncle, who is just the pair of them. There's these two trampy-looking, grey-haired old men with huge beards, and Bread was great. But yeah, there you go. Lookalikes, we're out there, and we'll come for your money. Right. So I'm going to wrap that up there tonight. I probably will do an episode next week. I don't have a guest yet. It's a dunk. Don't worry if you want to just cruise off. We'll see what we do. If not, I think we are going to call it until when did we say, Dunk?
End of July.
End of July. Well, no, I'm away first week of July. First week of August. Sorry. So we were going to do it after then, weren't we?
I was going to do one in the start of August.
Well, there you go then. All right, cool. That works for me then. Right. If I get a guest next week, we'll do something. If not, catch you all later on. Cheers. Dan, thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you, guys.
See you later, gents.
Cheers. Toodaloo.